There are moments in life when you feel a presence. Not threatening, not cruel, just there. A heaviness in the room. A face in your mind that won't leave. A dream so vivid it feels like a visit. And you wonder, who is reaching for me? Why can't I let this go? The answer may be more real than you think. Because according to Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet who spoke with the voice of eternity itself, not every soul moves on after death. Some remain. Not by accident, not by punishment, but by choice, by confusion, or by unfinished love. These souls do not rest. They do not ascend. They wander. And their wandering is not without purpose. You may have felt them. In the quiet of your grief. In the space between waking and sleep. In the pull toward a place you've never been, or a person you've never met. They are the ones who linger at the edge of the veil, unable or unwilling to cross. And Cayce revealed why. He called them the wanderers. Souls caught between two worlds. Not fully alive. Not fully dead. Walking the border of what we call reality and what lies just beyond it. They move through the places they loved. They reach toward the people they left behind. And they carry with them the weight of something unfinished. This is not a story of haunting. This is a story of longing. Of love that refuses to end. Of pain that refuses to heal. Of lessons that were never learned. And if you have ever sensed a presence, if you have ever woken with the feeling that someone was watching over you, if you have ever felt the pull of something you cannot name, then this message is for you. Because the wanderers are real, and they are closer than you think. Edgar Cayce did not speak lightly of the dead. He did not use fear to teach. He spoke with compassion, with clarity, with the wisdom of one who had seen beyond the veil and returned to tell the truth. And the truth he shared was this: when the body dies, the soul is meant to rise. It is meant to return to the light, to review the life it lived, to reunite with those who have gone before, and to prepare for what comes next. This is the natural path. This is the design, but not all souls follow it. Some pause. Some resist. Some stay. And when they do, they become wanderers. Earthbound spirits who refuse the call home. And Cayce said there are 3 great causes that trap a soul between the worlds. 3 reasons a soul will not ascend. And if you understand these reasons, you will understand the invisible presence that moves through this world, unseen but deeply felt. The first cause is attachment. A soul may love someone so deeply, so completely, that it cannot bear to leave them behind. A mother who watches over her child. A husband who lingers beside his wife. A friend who stays near the one they failed to protect. The love does not end with death. In fact, for some, it only grows stronger. And so the soul remains. Not haunting, not tormenting, but staying, watching, whispering into dreams, sending signs through the world. A song on the radio, a feather on the ground, a sudden warmth in an empty room. These are not coincidences. They are messages. And the wanderer sends them because they cannot let go. Cayce said these souls are not lost. They are devoted. They believe their presence brings comfort. They believe their watching brings protection. And in many cases, they are right. The living feel them. They sense the love. They speak to the empty air and somehow feel heard. But this devotion comes at a cost. Because the soul that lingers cannot grow. It cannot move forward. It remains frozen in the moment of its death, replaying the same emotions, the same fears, the same need to stay close. And over time, that need becomes a trap. The second cause is confusion. Not every soul understands that it has died. Cayce spoke of those who pass suddenly, violently, or unexpectedly, and who wake on the other side still believing they are alive. They walk through the rooms of their home and wonder why no one answers. They call out and hear only silence. They reach for the living and find their hands pass through. And in their confusion, they stay. They wander the places they knew, trying to make sense of what has happened, trying to reconnect with a world that no longer includes them. These are the souls who appear in mirrors, who move objects, who create cold spots and flickering lights. Not out of anger, but out of desperation. They are trying to be seen. They are trying to be real again. And the longer they stay, the harder it becomes to leave. Because confusion turns to fear. And fear turns to isolation. And isolation hardens into a kind of prison that only the soul itself can unlock. The third cause is guilt. This is the heaviest chain of all. A soul that believes it has failed, that believes it has harmed another, that carries shame or regret so deep it cannot face the light, will turn away from ascension. It will hide. It will wander the shadows of the earth, replaying its mistakes, punishing itself in silence. Cayce said these souls fear judgment. Not the judgment of God, but the judgment of themselves. They believe they are unworthy of peace. And so they deny themselves the very thing they need most. These are the souls who linger near the scenes of their greatest pain. The place where the accident happened. The room where the words were spoken. The grave of the one they hurt. They return again and again, not because they are bound by a curse, but because they are bound by their own refusal to forgive themselves. And until they release that guilt, until they understand that love is stronger than error, they will not rise. But here is what Cayce also revealed. The wanderers are not alone. They are seen. They are known. And they are helped. Because the living are not the only ones who reach across the veil. There are guides. There are angels. There are souls of light who move between the worlds, gently calling the wanderers home. They do not force. They do not demand. They wait. And they offer love. And when the wanderer is ready, when the attachment softens, when the confusion clears, when the guilt is finally released, the path opens. And the soul ascends. But while they remain, the wanderers influence the living. Cayce said this influence is real, tangible, and often misunderstood. A wanderer does not haunt in the way we imagine. It does not seek to frighten or harm. But its presence leaves an imprint, an emotional residue, a current of energy that the living can feel, especially those who are sensitive, those who are grieving, those who are spiritually open. You may have experienced this. A sudden wave of sadness with no clear cause. A memory that appears out of nowhere and will not leave. A dream in which someone you have lost speaks to you, and you wake knowing it was more than imagination. These are not random events. They are connections. Threads that stretch across the boundary between life and death. Pulled gently by a soul that still loves, still remembers, still hopes to be known. Cayce taught that the wanderers reach the living most often through dreams. Because in sleep, the conscious mind rests, and the soul becomes open. In dreams, the veil is thin. And the wanderer can step through, not as a ghost, but as a presence. A voice, a feeling, a knowing. And the living wake with messages they cannot explain, but somehow understand. He also said that wanderers influence emotions. If you have ever walked into a room and felt sudden grief, or entered a place and felt unexplained fear, you may have brushed against the energy of a wanderer. Their unfinished emotions do not vanish. They linger in the air, in the walls, in the land itself. And those who are sensitive will feel it. Not because they are cursed, but because they are awake. Because their soul recognizes the call of another soul in need. Some wanderers try to communicate more directly. They move objects. They create sounds. They appear as shadows in the corner of your eye. Not to frighten, but to be seen. To remind the living that they are still here, still present, still waiting. And Cayce said that when this happens, the living should not fear. They should respond with love. with prayer, with acknowledgement, because the wanderer is not your enemy. It is a soul in transition, reaching for help, reaching for light, reaching for the strength to finally let go. But what releases a wanderer? What finally frees them to ascend? Cayce gave a clear answer. It is not ritual. It is not force. It is love, understanding, forgiveness, and truth. When the living speak to the wanderer with compassion, when they release their own grief and give permission for the soul to go, the attachment begins to loosen. When the wanderer is reminded of the light, reminded that it is loved, reminded that it is safe to move on, the confusion begins to fade. And when the soul finally forgives itself, when it sees that its mistakes do not define it, when it accepts that peace is not something to be earned, but something it already deserves, the guilt dissolves, and the path home opens. Cayce said that prayers for the dead are not empty gestures. They are bridges. Every kind thought, every word of love, every intention sent toward a wandering soul helps to guide it forward. The living have more power than they realize. Their forgiveness can free a soul that has been trapped for years. Their love can light the way through darkness. Their simple acknowledgement can remind the wanderer that it is not forgotten. And so, if you have felt a presence, speak to it. If you have dreamed of someone who has passed, trust that it was real. Tell them you love them. Tell them they are free to go. Tell them that you will be okay, that they do not need to stay for you, that the light is waiting and it is safe to return. These words carry power. These words are heard. And these words can change everything. But there is also a deeper teaching here, one that Cayce wanted the living to understand. The wanderers are mirrors. They show us what we carry. If a soul lingers because of attachment, it reflects our own inability to let go. If a soul lingers because of confusion, it reflects our own fear of the unknown. If a soul lingers because of guilt, it reflects our own refusal to forgive ourselves. And so, in helping the wanderers, we help ourselves. In freeing them, we free the parts of us that are still bound. This is why the phenomenon of wandering souls matters. Not because it is strange or mysterious, but because it is deeply human. It reveals that love does not end, that consciousness continues, that the soul is eternal, and that the ties we form in life reach far beyond the moment of death. We are never truly separate from those we have loved. The veil is not a wall. It is a curtain. And on both sides, souls reach toward each other, seeking connection, seeking peace, seeking the reunion that is promised to all who are willing to rise. Cayce also warned that not all who sense the wanderers should engage with them. Some people are called to this work. They are the mediums, the sensitives, the soul guides who can speak across the veil with clarity and protection. But others are not ready. And if you feel overwhelmed by a presence, if you feel drained or disturbed, you do not need to carry that burden alone. You can ask for help. From guides, from prayer, from those who walk this path with knowledge and strength. There is no shame in stepping back. There is only wisdom in knowing your limits. But if you are one of the ones who feels called, if you are one of the ones who senses the wanderers and wants to help, then know this. You are not imagining it. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are awake. And your sensitivity is a gift. It means your soul is open. It means you can serve as a bridge between worlds. And that is a sacred role. One that requires compassion, patience, and deep respect for both the living and the dead. The wanderers are not here to haunt you. They are here because they are human, because they loved, because they hurt, because they did not know how to leave. And in their wandering, they teach us something profound. That death is not the end of relationship. That the soul continues. That love is the strongest force in the universe. And that even in death, we are never truly alone. Cayce's insight into the wanderers is not meant to frighten. It is meant to awaken, to remind us that this life is not all there is, that the people we love are not gone, only changed, that the invisible world is as real as the visible one, and that we, the living, have the power to help those who are lost find their way home. So tonight, as you lie in the quiet, as you feel the stillness around you, know that you are not alone. Know that the ones you have loved are closer than you think. And know that if you speak to them, if you send them your love, if you give them permission to rise, they will hear you. And in time they will go, not because they stopped loving you, but because they finally understood that love does not require presence. It only requires truth, and the truth is this: the soul is eternal. Death is a doorway, and on the other side, there is light. There is peace. There is reunion. But some souls must be reminded. Some souls must be called. And if you are reading this now, if you have felt the pull of something beyond, then perhaps you are the one meant to call them. Perhaps you are the bridge. Perhaps you are the voice that will finally set them free. Edgar Cayce saw beyond the veil. And what he saw was not darkness. It was love. Unfinished, unresolved, but always love. And that love is what keeps the wanderers here. And that love is what will finally bring them home. Trust what you feel. Honor what you sense. And know that in helping the wanderers, you are fulfilling one of the most sacred purposes a soul can serve. You are lighting the way. And that light will never be forgotten. The wanderers are real. Their longing is real. And your ability to reach them is real. Do not doubt it. Do not fear it. Instead, step into it with courage, with compassion, and with the knowing that you are part of something much larger than yourself. You are part of the eternal dance between life and death, between earth and heaven, between the soul that stays and the soul that finally learns to fly. And when the wanderer rises at last, when the light surrounds them and they step into peace, they will carry your love with them. And they will remember you, not as the one who held them back, but as the one who set them free.